Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dream City podcast, supported by SpotlightDC. I'm your co-host, Cuneyt Dill.
And I'm Tom Sherwood.
Today, we're going to be wrapping up the end of the year and the first season of the Dream City podcast. We're talking about the police chief leaving town and a new one taking the job. We're also going to talk about the next step in the mayor's race, who's going to get in at what time. We're also talking about, did DC leave money on the table for affordable housing? A bit of a question of, is DC managing its affordable housing program efficiently? And we revisit Trump Stadium, the football stadium that's going to get built, the ways in which the president is putting his fingerprints on it already. And before we get to all that, I do want to read a message from our dear sponsor. They supported us this year. SpotlightDC is the Capital City Fund for investigative journalism. They raise funds and award grants for award-winning, impactful accountability journalism. Until the end of the year, all donations to the nonprofit SpotlightDC are doubled. Go to spotlightdc.org. Tom, it's great to be back. I was on vacation.
And they're also tax deductible, I believe.
They're also tax deductible.
For those of us who make more money out there.
For the rich ones in this world like Tom, go talk to your tax professionals for help. It's great to see you back.
Welcome back to this country. I mean,
I know.
You went to 3 different countries or something?
I did, yeah, and I lost track of time. You know, like when you go on vacation and you forget what day it is and what time everything is. I think I've been away for like 2 weeks, but yeah,
like 2 months.
Yeah, if it was a nice winter vacation. I would recommend December in Europe for people. But I went to London where I have relatives and I saw some friends there, and I went to Italy. I went to Rome, and then I went to Naples, and I actually ended up doing more shopping than I expected. I got this new blazer that I'm wearing, and I drove around southern Italy a little bit, which was interesting and fun in the winter. You know, people usually go there in the summer, and I think I want to go back when the weather's nicer. But Naples, I gotta say, Tom, I don't know if you've been to Italy much, but Naples is a very interesting, kind of grungy, bit of like a New York City vibe, just in terms of the chaos and sort of the street life. Naples is like where a lot of the Italian Americans can draw their heritage to. And I swear, it looked a bit like the Jersey Shore in the best way possible. And so it was really interesting.
I'm not sure that is possible. I've been to Florence and to Venice. I was the best man at a wedding in Venice a few decades ago.
Nice.
It's a great place. We should go, but this is not a travel agency, so I won't say too much more about it. Except welcome back. And you flew back. I'm not sure what city you flew into, but you avoided all the storms in New York.
Yeah, I was in Istanbul, so I flew back over the weekend, and it was a bit of a bumpy ride.
Dulles?
To Dulles.
You missed all the storms in the Northeast. Big storms.
Yeah,
Big storms in the district, too.
Did we get snow?
No, but you got snow up in New York and other places if you go through New York.
Yeah, I saw they got the most snow in a couple of years, I think.
Yeah.
But, I didn't really pay attention to the news.
Well...
There's one thing I did get in a text chain is, so I reported Police Chief Pamela Smith was retiring after, I think, 2.5 years. She's been the police chief, a very tumultuous time. And she took the decision, she said, to spend more time with her family. She's from Arkansas originally. And when I was away, she actually gave this farewell speech. I just want to, play it again. People may have seen this already. I just think this was very
stunning.
Unexpected. Here we go.
Never will I ever compromise my integrity for a few crime numbers. How dare you? How dare you attack my integrity, attack my character? You don't know who I belong to.
And quick, just pause. She's talking about the controversy about the crime numbers being the allegations that the crime numbers were shifted, which she says she did not take any decision to change the numbers or anything. She vehemently denies it, but that's what she's responding to very passionately here.
It's not the end of it.
So I'm going to the Bible when I say this to my haters. F you. I forgive you.
I guess F you means forgive you.
Well, I've been to a lot of Bible churches. I'm from a Baptist Methodist background. I've never heard the word F you refer to forgive you. But I checked around. Some people said it wasn't that unusual. It was the most extraordinary goodbye. Got a lot of attention while you were out of town. She is, people may not know this about her. She is a minister. She has a ministerial license. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but she's also somewhat Pentecostal. If you go online, you can see her giving sermons, where she's moving all around the altar and yelling and screaming and talking in the soft voice. I grew up in some of those churches, and so I recognized it, but I did not recognize it as a police chief of the District of Columbia who was leaving. And of course, the scandal is that both the Congress, House Committee, and the U.S. Attorney's Office here have both put out reports saying that the crime stats over the last year or so have been cooked by the chief's administration. The district and the mayor, Muriel Bowser, object to that and say that the investigations weren't that thorough, but that's where all that power came from when she was saying goodbye.
There was one commander on leave in regards to these numbers being shifted around. Did any clarity come about in terms of where
there's some investigating still going on. These reports are still out there, and the chief herself said on leaving that some of the people who complained about the stats ought to be questioned more closely about how they occurred. But we're moved on to a new chief now.
And so who's the new chief?
Well, Jeffery Carroll is the new chief, and he's not new. Unlike the chief who came from the U.S. Park Service, Jeffery Carroll has been with the police department his entire career, kind of in the Kathy Lanier and Robert Conti and Peter Newsom vein, where they've spent their entire careers in the department. He's been the executive assistant to the current Chief Smith for several years now. He rose through the ranks, and the mayor picked him to be the interim chief. He officially starts as interim chief on January 1st, and he'll be in that job until the next mayor is elected and maybe picks a new chief or keeps him. We won't know.
One of the big things Pamela Smith had to deal with was the Trump administration. Is there any discussion, or has he talked at all about how he would deal with the White House?
Well, in fact, he was the representative of the chief. He was there more than she was. And that's one of the things the mayor thought was a good transition, was Chief Carroll has been through, as the executive chief running the entire department. He represented the city at the White House and the Justice Department and all these meetings. If people are really interested in this chief, I'm going to recommend that they go to NBC4's website. Mark Seagraves had a great sit-down interview with Chief Carroll. And Seagraves asked him about the relationship with Trump, the concerns that the D.C. police officers are helping too much or at all with the immigration roundups in the city that has infuriated the citizens. And he also talked about what he would do as the interim chief. And he also said he would address this issue of crime stats, and he would try to make certain that they're accurate. So you can go to the NBC4 website and just put in Seagraves, Chief Carroll, and you see a terrific interview asking, I think, what all the critics had been saying about him.
I got to check it out myself. I'm still, like I said, I'm catching up on stuff.
Yes.
The other
You're
thing
still
is,
unpacking.
I'm literally still unpacking. The other thing is what's going on in the mayor's race, because when I left, Janice Lewis George had gotten in, splashy announcement, fundraising hall. We were waiting for Councilmember McDuffie to make his entry into the race.
Still waiting.
Yeah, what's the latest with Councilmember McDuffie? Because there's some
movement. When on December the 16th, Kenyan McDuffie, longtime council member from Ward 5 and at large, gave a farewell speech at the council. He said it was his last session on the D.C. Council, that he would let us know later what he's going to do next. But his last day, his official last day for which he'll be paid as a council member, is coming up, January the 5th. And sometime after January the 5th, and before petitions for mayor are released on January, I think, 23rd, Kenyan McDuffie is expected to make his own splash, announcing he's running for mayor. We all know he's going to run. We don't know how he's going to do it. Janice Lewis George, the Ward 4 council member, splashed out with a video from all 8 wards, raised a lot of money already. It's already made one adjustment to that financial report. But we're waiting to see if Kenyan McDuffie, a son of the District of Columbia, just as Janice Lewis George is a daughter of the district, will bring some fire and energy to his campaign to match what she's doing. And of course, there are 3 other lesser-known candidates for mayor, but these are the 2 principal ones. And so, Kenyan McDuffie, if you're seeing this podcast, let's go. What day is it going to be? We all want to be there.
Okay,
well,
that's
just talk about the other things. I was looking this morning at the people running for mayor and council, and it was interesting. This is, as we've talked before on this program, there are going to be wide open races. A lot of council members and mayor are not running again. So far, there's something like 38 candidates who've listed on the campaign finance, 5 for mayor, 8 at large, because Anita Bonds and Kenyan McDuffie are leaving 2 seats open here. And there's 6 candidates for Ward 1. There's 5 candidates for Ward 6. There's a lot of candidates out there, and they're all going to be looking for publicity. And Kenyan and Phil Mendelson, the chairman, has said to us many times he is running for re-election, but he has not yet filed his official papers, and you can't raise money until you file your papers. So I'm a little surprised that the chairman no one has filed to run for chairman yet. Jack
Phil
Evans,
Mendelson,
the former council member, has threatened, he said privately to a number of people, that he's going to run for chairman if no one else runs. And we'll see if that happens or not.
Councilmember Mendelson is also always welcome on the show. I think he actually agreed to join. Someone asked, Bill, friend of the podcast, Bill Rice, asked him.
I think during the campaign season, political candidates will pretty much show up for fishing. They'll do anything to get some publicity.
And one quick announcement, Spotlight DC supports local investigative journalism. Right now, all donations are doubled, spotlightdc.org. Let's move on. Speaking of Spotlight DC, one of the projects they did was a story in the Washington City paper tracking the affordable housing funds that DC is spending, or maybe not
spending
quite use of. Yeah, DC has a bit of a history of leaving federal money on the table. These are things like federal grants for programs, and there are a lot of examples over the years of DC leaving money on the table, not efficiently using it, or not qualifying for money in time. Here is another story, kind of in that vein. What did they find, Tom?
We all know that housing, the lack of affordable housing, even middle-income housing, is very serious in this city, the suburbs, anywhere in urban areas. And the council held a hearing and invited the Colleen Green, who is the director of the Housing and Community Development, DHCD, in the city. That's an agency that takes federal money and distributes it to developers to build affordable housing, seed money. It's very important. And over the last couple of months, at least, there have been discoveries that some federal money, as much as $35 million, has been returned to the feds because the DHCD director, Colleen Green, didn't get the money out of her office and into the hands of developers. And Robert White, who is the chair of the Housing Committee on the D.C. Council and is running for delegate to Congress, used the hearing on the 18th, to aggressively question the director. Why was this money not spent the way it should have been? And the answer is, it sounds like bureaucracy. And that's for people who are hoping to build housing for lower income people. It's a sad situation.
Yeah. One of the goals here on our podcast is to keep City Hall accountable. This story does a great job of that. I'm just looking at it right now. So the way it works is that the $3 million in credits is actually worth close to $30 million in equity.
Right.
That's the
It's seed
reporting.
money, yes. With
by
that money, you can
yeah.
go out and borrow more money if you're a developer.
And so Robert White was questioning the director at the meeting, and it's kind of interesting the dialogue that they had. He says, "Okay, how many credits did we return?" And then Green says, "We returned 3.1 million in tax credits," and he says, "Million what in tax credits?" And she says, 3.1 million in tax credits, and he asks dollars, and she says yes, dollars.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, if you can, again, you can go to the council website and look at that hearing if you want to, and see the frustration that Robert White and Chairman Phil Mendelson and others had. Brianne Nadeau was asking questions that the money was not properly spent. It was left off the table for people who want affordable and better housing in the District of Columbia. And although Robert White's running for delegate to Congress now, I suspect that we'll hear a lot more about housing in the coming campaigns for mayor and the council.
Yeah.
Severe issue here.
What did the government say, if anything, in response? What I saw, one of the things the director said was one of the reasons was apparently all the projects that they were trying to, I guess, fund were having challenges starting, but the council
I would say
pushed
that
back against that.
there are deadlines to get the money out the door, whatever the reasons are. It sounds, I talked to several council members, it sounded like bureaucratic failure to act. Whatever the reasons they did not act, the bottom line is they did not act. So it doesn't matter what the reason was. That's their job, is to get this money out so we can have affordable housing or more affordable housing in the district. Didn't happen.
Great reporting for Mitch Riles and Susie Emanuel in Washington City paper.
Right, for a
following the
Spotlight
money.
investigative story.
One story that I did also just read this morning was in the Washington Business Journal, looking at how the football stadium is going to be designed at RFK Stadium. There's a story here about how President Trump's man on the the DC
National Capital Planning Commission.
It's kind of a mouthful.
NCPC.
But NCPC is this powerful board that reviews a lot of important development projects in DC, and Trump took it over. Basically, he put one of his White House officials who still works at the White House.
Former personal attorney to Will Sharp, former personal attorney to Trump.
And Will Sharp is also what is called a staff secretary at the White House. But you might recognize him from something more memorable. He is the man who would hand Trump the executive orders to sign in black Sharpie. And from the early days of the administration, that was a sight at the Oval Office. You would have him handing it over to Trump and announcing it anyways. So he is now leading the National Capital Planning Commission, who is going to review the stadium project. And he says that the new stadium should have a classical, neoclassical look about it. The exact quote is that he hopes the $3.8 billion stadium, quote, incorporates architectural features in keeping with the Capitol, more generally classical, neoclassical elements that will align it with the Capitol, that it will essentially overlooked.
I think I'm frowning on this. I'm frowning on this.
I mean, it's not that unusual to have something that would fit the rest of the city. I mean, this
goes back, I think, in Trump's first term, and certainly in this term, Trump has said that he likes Trump, not this guy, because he's speaking for Trump. He's supposed to judge what's done, but he's speaking exactly what Trump wants. Trump wants classical architecture. Mm-hmm. Trump also has, in the past, has said he thinks maybe his name should go on the stadium.
Yes.
So this is all about Trump putting his name and fingerprints on everything in the city, from the Kennedy Center to, Pennsylvania Avenue may be renamed for Trump before he's done. But the stadium, I've discussed this with the team owners. They've hired HKS, I think it's from St. Louis. Mm-hmm. It is one of the premier, if not the premier, stadium architectural builders in the country and in the world. And they're working on a stadium that they say that will appropriately fit in this classic line of places, from the Lincoln Memorial to the west, to the Washington Monument, to the U.S. Capitol Dome, to the RFK Stadium site. It is an extraordinary line for visual on TV and around the world. They say their stadium will fit there. It's going to be more modern than classical. I asked them, is it going to look like Las Vegas? In which they laughed. I hope it won't look like Las Vegas. But this is another way Trump and his supporters are trying to put his fingerprints on everything. They want whatever a classical stadium would look like. I can't imagine what that is. I have confidence that HKS will have something that will bow to the District of Columbia as the nation's capital, but will not replicate what we already have here.
HKS designed the SoFi Stadium, so and then they've done a lot of new modern stadiums recently. Just quickly, I don't know if it'll look like a Coliseum or something, but
no,
I was just in Istanbul, where one of their soccer stadiums is right next to a 18th century palace, and it's a very classical, neoclassical looking building, and the stadium next to it has kind of like a facade that resembles or alludes to sort of columns in the vein of like granite or marble columns. So I could see something where they end up with the facade looking a bit, like, I don't know, marble. Or
they don't want it to be a Disneyland recreation of something from Rome or anything like that. It's, a Coliseum where the lions appear on Friday night chasing after Democrats. I think you're going to see that it's going to be, because of AI, because of the technological revolution that we're in, they're going to have the most modern TV screens, interactive screens. They're going to have it's going to be one of the most modern stadiums in the world when it opens in 2030. I might point out that Trump will be out of office. And I think there might be some acknowledgement, some nodding to the place that they're in, which is the nation's capital of the United States. But we're not going to have some, again, Disney World creation of some Roman Colosseum. That's just not going to happen. Trump will not be able to make that happen.
The next step in this, I guess, is the NCPC, this commission. They're going to keep reviewing this project into the new year.
I think people should know the National Capital Planning Commission in the downtown corridor where the White House is and the Congress in that area has dictatorial power to cancel projects. They can say, you can't do it. The arena downtown, the basketball arena, has had to make several changes to the exterior of the new arena that's going there, the redesign, because it didn't fit what the National Capital Planning Commission wanted. The rest of the city and the nearby suburbs, the federal area around Washington, is subject to review by the National Capital Planning Commission. They cannot write a letter saying you must put green lights on every corner, but they can make you work to change your design. And that's where we are with that.
Well, I think it's a good place to end this, Walf. And just before we sign off, one final note. Let me tell you about our launch sponsor, SpotlightDC, the Capital City Fund for Investigative Journalism. Raises funds and awards grants for award-winning, impactful journalism. Visit spotlightdc.org. Tom, it's been a hell of a first year. I think it's actually only been 2 months, really. But technically,
feels like 2 years.
Our first season of this Dream City podcast is concluding after 6 episodes. We have so much more planned in the new year, like interviews. We have some big-name guests who already want to come on. We'll hint at those soon, I think. But this has just been a blast launching this with you, Tom.
And we're going to have, thank you, I agree, it's going to be just an extraordinary number of candidates, as I mentioned earlier. Extraordinary change at the top of the government, including, we didn't mention Eleanor Holmes Norton. I think in January we'll hear that she is not going to be running for re-election. I think we'll know that soon. And we're just going to have a major change in the city. And progressives in the city are hoping to come back. They've been pushed aside a little, and they're hoping to come back. We're just going to have a lot of news and politics to talk about on our podcast, Dream City Podcast. Thank you, Spotlight.
I hope everyone has a great new year. Thank you for listening, watching. By the way, everyone, you can listen to this wherever podcasts can be found, but I realize not everyone's aware that you can watch our talking faces on YouTube as well. So if you go to YouTube and look at Dream City Podcast, you can watch the video of this as well. And check us on our website, www.dreamcity.news. And thanks for following us. Subscribe, follow, link, all that. Thanks.
See you again.